guys, and what is going on once again? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for the 27th edition now of my SummerSlam Retro and Review series. As we, after this edition, have two more episodes left. I said I'm not reviewing 2017 SummerSlam again since I already reviewed it live on this channel. So we have two more left after this. So now we're on SummerSlam 2014. Now, overall, again, this is a show that I saw live. Well, not in person, but I saw it happen when it happened. And watching it the first time, I thought it was good. Watching it the second time, I still thought it was pretty good. But I did realize, some of these stories going forward, like involving like the people who are involved in it, I feel like what happened afterwards on the SummerSlam, what happened here didn't really benefit, going forward for most of these people. I mean, some of it, was good for what it was then, but then eventually it's just like, it's like these doesn't really get anywhere with some of these storylines and whatnot. So I mean, on paper, this was a good show. I gave it a good grade, but I do agree going forward, most of the rest of the superstars on this show, most of the stuff that happened here didn't really make a difference for them whatsoever. I thought, in my opinion. But it was still a fun show to talk about. I'm looking forward to talking about this show. So let's dive right into SummerSlam 2014, which took place on August 17th, 2014, at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. This is the sixth year in a row, I believe, that SummerSlam took place at the Staples Center in LA. And it was the last year that it took place at the Staples Center in LA, as we had 15, 16, 17 that took place in Brooklyn, and this year's going to be taking place in Brooklyn again. But I hear this is going to be the last year it's going to take place in Brooklyn. I think they're going to do it somewhere else in 2019, I've heard rumors of. So let's dive in right into the show again. We start off at the beginning with a promo from Hulk Hogan, who is a host of WrestleMania 30 this year. But he pretty much came out just to promote the WWE Network, because they didn't promote it enough the way it was. If you haven't subscribed to the WWE Network, it's subscribed now for just $9.99. And they've toned it down finally, settling it down, not doing it as bad as they did, these days. But of course, they continue to, just here and there mention how, if you do this pay-per-views for free and whatnot, if you subscribe now and whatnot. So, all that crazy stuff in there pretty much. Anyways, so we had that promo. Then we had a match with The Miz and Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship of this match. Now, going back in time, now I remember watching these two fight around this time was good. But of course, the story was not as good to it as the feud was in 2016. So I remember when the feud started in 2016, I'm like, I've seen these guys fight, not too bad. But of course, at the time, The Miz was not on the level of the character he was back in 2016. Again, The Miz, again, beforehand was like, he's an all right guy, but nothing but it really stood out to me big time. But again, as I said, in 2016, he really just turned it up another level. I mean, yes, he's still not really one of the greatest in-ring performers, but with the microphone skills and his psychology playing, it makes him look like one of the more underrated talents on the roster. And going back and watching a match like this again between the two of them back then, I still, thought, okay, what he was going for, like he still kind of pulled off some of those psychological things, in my opinion. Like towards the end of the match, when he thought first he had Dolph, he hit him into his bad knee and hit a skull crusher finale on him, but then Dolph kicked out of it. So it was a pretty good back and forth action to start off in an opener, pretty much. I thought it was good. And Dolph won the Intercontinental Championship. Of course, he would drop it to Miz at Night of Champions, but win it back off the Miz the following night on Raw, which was, kind of random. He would hold that championship until I think around Survivor Series when he dropped it to Luke Harper, and they would have an amazing ladder match. I thought a very good ladder match at TLC 2014, probably one of the only good matches of that show, of course, because that pay-per-view was not that great. But yeah, pretty good back and forth action between the Miz and Dolph Ziggler again. After seeing their feud in 2016, just seeing how good these two worked together, going back and watching it again, even though again the Miz was not on the level he was in 2016. I still had a lot of appreciation for this match going back and watching it again. So this was a good opener. I thought Ziggler wins and becomes the new Intercontinental Champion. Then we have Brie Bella backstage being interviewed, talking about what just recently happened, the storyline involving her and Stephanie McMahon. As we all know, in 2014, where Daniel Bryan overcame the authority of WrestleMania and won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, being Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista all in the same night to do so. But unfortunately, Daniel Bryan's neck injury caused him to, have to relinquish the championship because he was going to be out a lot longer than expected because he was supposed to recover in 6 to 8 weeks. But then, since he put off that surgery so long, he wasn't getting the strength back in his arm for a while. So it took, instead of saying 6 to 8 weeks, it took about 8 or 9 months to get back from the surgery. So, of course, Brie Bella, in some ways, I say John Cena kind of filled Daniel Bryan's shoes for the rest of the year. And I'll explain why, of course, towards the end. But, of course, Brie Bella's storyline kind of, continued on, how with her being Daniel Bryan's husband and, like, Stephanie made more personal when, Daniel first refused to relinquish the championship. It was during a time where they weren't going to have him relinquish the championship yet because they weren't sure if he was going to be back in time or whatnot, back, off camera, that is. But of course, Stephanie McMahon was just going out of her way to bully Brie Bella, and then when Nikki quit and slapped her across the face, of course, Stephanie can't lose, so she made Brie's sister Nikki, pay. She gave Nikki hell for it, pretty much. And then of course it led to Brie lurking around at Raw or whatnot, and then Stephanie slapping her, led Stephanie getting arrested, and then Stephanie went out of her way to bring Daniel Bryan's therapist and paid her to say that she was having an affair with Daniel Bryan, which was not true, of course, and caused Brie to snap. And Brie got arrested on the Go Home show before SummerSlam, and it was just a really good story leading up. And Brie talks in this interview about reflecting on her time being in jail before she got out after being in jail for a couple days and whatnot, and the charges were dropped against her. She was charged for her slapping Daniel Bryan's therapist after Stephanie again paid her to say that she had been having an affair with Daniel Bryan, trying to mess up her marriage and whatnot. She's pretty much saying how, she's going to get the upper hand on Stephanie McMahon because that is what's best for business. So we had that. The second match we had in the show was AJ Lee versus Paige for the Divas Championship. This is the storyline of Paige debuted the Raw after WrestleMania, and of course AJ was getting ready to go on her honeymoon since she married Punk. And then of course they had AJ drop the championship. Paige had it. But then, of course, when AJ came back, they did a double turn, and Paige turned heel on AJ Lee after they had more of a face on face, friend on friend match at Battleground. And then leading up to their had Paige turn on AJ and beat her down, and then Paige started just imitating AJ's skipping and whatnot as she was around this time. They had another match at SummerSlam for the Divas Championship, which Paige won this match. It was a short match. It was not bad. It wasn't really bad, but it definitely could have given a little more time because, of course, the Divas were the women's wrestlers were treated like jokes and were just out there for their looks and whatnot because they were just considered divas and not women. But I still personally feel that this feud between AJ and Paige, it was good, but it could have been even better. Like, this feud could have been a Sasha and Charlotte feud like it was in 2016. I feel. They could have culminated this feud inside Hell in a Cell, I feel, in my honest opinion. They could have gone a lot further, but again, the match still good for what it was. I thought it was solid. Paige wins the Divas Championship, as the following month there'll be a triple threat match against someone else, which I will mention that later on. And then eventually they ended the feud at Hell in a Cell, but just in a regular women's Divas match, of course. But Paige wins with the countering from the Black Widow from AJ Lee, hitting the Rampage on her to get the victory. So again, solid match for Paige's first SummerSlam. And was that her only SummerSlam? No, because she was at the second. She was following one. Yeah, this was one of two SummerSlams for her. In 2015, she was involved in that triple threat women's tag team elimination match, which we'll talk about that next year's SummerSlam. We had Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter taking on Rusev with Lana in a flag match. So this is Rusev's first SummerSlam, and of course, he's this Russian villain and whatnot who was just getting a monster push until he got all of his momentum cut by John Cena at WrestleMania 31. Not going to rant on that right now. Of course, this is the whole thing with the fact that Jack Swagger always wanted to beat Rusev. Never happened. He never beat Rusev. And of course, this is about to fighting for each of their countries, pretty much. Now, the thing was, the last flag match was between John Cena and Rusev at last year's Battleground, which, of course, we all know that whole pay-per-view and that match in general sucked. And, usually a flag match, I thought was you had to put your flag on like a certain post and whatnot, or other things like I don't know, like they changed the rules sometimes. This one it was just the winner had to get their flag raised pretty much and play their national anthem, which ended up being Rusev in a decent match, probably the weakest match on the card I felt, but I think it was still a strong showing for what it was. There's another way to help put over Rusev, the feud with a guy like Jack Swagger, who wasn't a complete low joke of a low card wrestler yet. I feel like after this, he had one other match with Rusev at TLC for the United States Championship this year. I feel like after that was when Jack Swagger's career pretty much went right into the ground, pretty much. So he still was somewhat of a credible wrestler at this time. So it was a good way to put over Rusev as well. So he would go on to feud with guys like Big Show and Mark Henry, and then that's when he feud with John Cena after that. That's when he just went downhill, of course, because he had a monster push, but then all his men again got cut up by once again John Cena at WrestleMania 31, as we all saw coming. But anyways, yeah. So Rusev wins the flag match by submission, getting Swagger to pass out. What was my match of the night, in my honest opinion, was this lumberjack match between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. This is a couple months after, 2 months after the Shield broke up after Rollins turned on them, and both Rollins and Ambrose won Money in the Bank, and of course Kane was in there more so just for Seth Rollins' benefit, to help him win the briefcase, which he did. I never saw their match. About the only pay-per-view I did not get to watch in 2014 was Battleground, so I can't really judge. I don't remember what happened there. I think eventually, I think from what I remember, they each had matches to have the one person determine what stipulation a match would be, and since they claimed Seth Rollins just ran away all the time, they made a lumberjack match. And I think this match also, again, just more so established Rollins as the sneaky heel and whatnot, who has the authority doing his bidding and whatnot, which worked for him, but also brought out a lot more of the craziness in Dean Ambrose's lunatic character as well, because things went nuts. Tell a story about the lumberjacks could not keep the match under control. Of course Kane came out there, corporate Kane, to get things back under control, because Ambrose and Rollins went to the crowd. And of course, there was a couple of spots where Ambrose took out some of the lumberjacks that were, taking over Rollins. And then, of course, when Kane got involved with the match towards the end, to prevent, because Ambrose hit a curb stomp on Rollins, which is, of course, is Rollins' own finisher. He's about to win, and then Kane got in there and interfered. And then, Goldust got in there saying, hey, I thought we were supposed to be, be doing this. Like, what are you playing favorites for? And then that's when Kane struck Goldust, and then the big brawl broke out between all the lumberjacks. And then it looked like Ambrose was going to get the upper hand on Rollins, but just like that, it felt like the ending to Gargano and Ciampa. Just like that, when you thought Ambrose had everything in the palm of his hands, out of nowhere, boom, when the referee wasn't looking, Rollins used a briefcase and smacked Ambrose in the face with it for him to get the victory in a chaotic but fun lumberjack match. I thought, in my opinion, I think it was the match of the night. I felt, because it would continue on the feud, because Rollins and Ambrose had a match the night after on Raw. I think it was a Falls Count Anywhere match, but then it led to that angle where they curb stomped Dean Ambrose's head into that big pile of cinder blocks, which was meant to write Ambrose off the show for about a month, because he went to go film a movie, and then he returned that night at Champions, which was during a match that was supposed to be a match between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, but that's when Roman suffered that hernia injury, and so Rollins issued an open challenge, and Ambrose returned, and him and Rollins brawl set up for their match to culminate their feud at the time inside Hell in a Cell. So good match. Again, my match of the night, I felt. We had Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt. Chris Jericho returned in 2014 towards the end of June. He stuck around until like September. And him and Wyatt didn't have that bad of a match, but again, what was the point of this feud, I still thought? Because, again, I do agree with people say, this is around the time where, Jericho was just, just a normal, bland, babyface character who came back. Doesn't really have much, much gas in the tank. Like, it felt like, I can understand people around this time thought that, Jericho was kind of pointless, because there really wasn't too much to the story. It felt like the storyline between Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. They put on good matches, not amazing, but good and passable matches. But what was the point of them, especially for like a SummerSlam feud? I remember, I think Jericho won the match at Battleground, and then Wyatt won this match, and then on the season premiere thing, whatever they were doing for Raw, I think Wyatt beat Jericho inside of a steel cage match, I believe. But yeah, this is right after Wyatt's feud with John Cena, and again, it just didn't really do much at all. And then Jericho just being turned into a random match with Randy Orton at Night of Champions, and then Jericho would be done for his run. Wouldn't return again until a year later. Well, he did a couple house shows in 2015, but he only did one like TV match. Well, not TV because it was a pay-per-view match, but when he was the surprise partner for Ambrose and Reigns at Night of Champions in 2015. It was supposed to set up, an angle for Ambrose and Jericho for WrestleMania 32, but those plans got changed and whatnot. But yeah, you can tell, I understand, during his brief 2014 run, it just didn't feel like there was any direction or point to Jericho being there. So, I can understand why people, were like mad about this match. The match is still good, but again, what did it do for Wyatt? What did it really do for Jericho in the long run? But still a good match. Bray Wyatt won the match. I believe, I think Harper and Rowan were banned from ringside in this match, I believe. I think it was this or the steel cage match where Jericho had matches against Harper and Rowan. So if any of them beat Jericho, then they were allowed to be at ringside. But I think Jericho beat them both. But yeah, there's a continuous flow of destruction of the Wyatt family. But Bray Wyatt wins, but didn't do much for him. And then we had this match. This match, the story was told here was good, but the results, as a fan, again, it wasn't like, it was bad and, made the winner look bad or whatnot, but it was one of those feuds that, as a fan, I just really, really wanted to see the person who lost win this match. I just really wanted to see, because of how good the storyline was and how badly, it made a fan like me want to see the babyface win. Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon. Now, I'll be real, Stephanie came out there, and I remember thinking back then too, she put up a dominating performance for not being a full-time wrestler. She was getting the upper hand on Brie a lot, but then, of course, Brie was fighting back and starting to get the momentum rolling for her as well. But then when everything started getting very good, though, for Brie, that's when Triple H came out. And then behind Triple H came Brie Bella's twin sister, Nikki. And then it looked like she was about to get Stephanie to tap out to the Yes Lock because, she used some of Daniel Bryan's moves. And so it was like, Daniel Bryan was there through Brie pretty much. And that's why it was easy for her to get behind her. She's pretty much just standing up to what Stephanie McMahon's done to the family. Because, yes, Daniel Bryan overcame, Triple H, Batista, and Orton then. But, of course, Stephanie McMahon was still around being her bully self and whatnot. And of course, having Daniel Bryan's injury and having the Universal Championship kind of put the authority back on top a little bit. You feel like it was kind of that way it all happened was let's continue on here first with the match. So whenever Brie had the Yes Lock locked in, Triple H pulled the referee out of the ring. But then Brie Bella did some nice like a flying drop kick or whatnot to take out Triple H, and then Nikki got into the ring with her. And at first they were going to they trapped Stephanie in the middle, and everything, Stephanie had done to Brie and done to Nikki because of Brie's actions, and it looked like, Nikki was going to help Brie win. But then just like that, and I should say just like that because it wasn't completely unexpected because I had heard rumors about the WWE possibly pulling this, but just like that, Nikki Bella pushed Stephanie out of the way and elbowed Brie right in the face and helped Stephanie up and pretty much, handed the victory over to Stephanie. Of course, Triple H was pretty thrilled too, walking around Brie like, well, what do you know here, whatnot? Yes, of course, Nikki Bella is hot as hell, but, of course, Triple H is married, his wife's right in the ring, but anyways, and it just, man, again, Stephanie won the match. Can't say, it was bad having Stephanie win, because, hey, the better person won, whatnot, as I said, but gosh, I just really wanted Brie to win that match so bad. That's why I've mentioned how many times, Stephanie McMahon, again, respect for a woman, has done a lot for this company, but her on-screen character, just, when was she going to be, with how rare she gets to wrestle, it feels like she just always gets on top, and if she's going to be always, getting on top for being, a bully, pretty much, for what she is, then it's like after a while, you're going to get tired of her. You're going to want to see somebody just beat the crap out of her, and that's what I felt what I wanted to see out of this match. But then, of course, yes, I know they were planning on turning Nikki heel, but and this is the right way to get rid of the heat. But I just really, really wanted to see Brie win and get that revenge for everything she had been doing to her husband. Because you think about it, Daniel Bryan gets injured. John Cena, again, I feel pretty much filled Daniel Bryan's shoes the rest of the way, with a championship run, and then he was the leader of, the team going against the Authority at Survivor Series, and they, of course, Team Cena won, so it felt like, they overcame, but of course, the way I felt they brought the Authority back was really weak. I mean, I hope they wouldn't have done the same thing if Daniel Bryan was in those shoes, but it's like, I don't know, for a feud that was like so good, and that, got me into being a wrestling fan, to me, it felt like, Daniel Bryan won the battles whenever he could, but in my opinion, the Authority won the war pretty much. And that's the feeling I kind of had coming out of, this. And of course, set up for the feud between Brie and Nikki. I mean, Nikki got a title shot in a triple threat match at Night of Champions for pretty much for, helping Stephanie McMahon. So it was it was Nikki Paige and AJ, where AJ won a title back, and then, Nikki would eventually win a Survivor Series when Brie turned heel for no reason. It's just like, why did they have to turn Brie heel? I feel just because she's finally just doing whatever she had to do to have her sister to love her again. When before she was fighting for her family, and Brie pretty much turned her back on her and her family. That feud was just awful. The Jerry Springer thing, the I wish she died in the womb thing. It's just like, this is terrible. And of course, Brie goes on to have that Divas title reign, which again I was accepting of it until she didn't drop it to Naomi again, and she barely defended it, but we're not going to go down that path. So, yeah, the aftermath of this wasn't really that good. I mean, the match and the story was still good, I thought, at SummerSlam, but, man, I just really wanted to see Brie win that match. But it didn't happen, so moving on to Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton in this match. And, again, this is around a time where I started hearing people start saying, I want to be careful with, how much you support Roman Reigns, because people were starting to believe that they were trying to turn him into the next John Cena. I heard rumors that, the plan was for him to dethrone Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31. But, of course, Roman had that hernia injury. And then, I'll admit, even like some of the promos, he was still kind of like his fairy tale type promo. Like something like, I will remove the Viper's fangs and he'll turn into a little worm. I'm just like, why would you have him say something like that? Suffering, suck, all that, because, again, remember, he won this match. The match started off kind of slow, wasn't that into it at first, but then it did pick up towards the end. Orton hit a really sick-looking RKO on Reigns. Reigns kicked out of it, and he eventually would spear Orton to get the win, which, again, was a good way to help, put it over Reigns. But then he had that hernia injury, and then as soon as he came back was the Royal Rumble, and of course, Daniel Bryan was back, and everybody, wanted Daniel Bryan to win. Again, we don't know how bad the 2015 Rumble was. Made no one else look good. Everybody else looked like fools, and the only thing that mattered was Roman Reigns. And, because Roman got thrown into that situation with that bad Royal Rumble and the bad booking, and of course, having him win like that, and then having the guy they wanted to win go like a joke, it just set the stage for, what we've gotten over the past 4 years, pretty much. Is just Roman suffering and being the next, bipolar figure, or polarized figure in the WWE, pretty much. Give him credit, the match was still good. Again, it started off slow and wasn't really that into it at first, but then, towards the end it got a lot interesting, and I still enjoyed the ending, so it was still good. And then we got our main event, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Watching it again, it was I feel, somewhat of a semi-squash match. It wasn't completely, but John Cena, only offense he got was a couple punches into his gut. He hit an AA on Lesnar once, and then he tried putting him in the STF towards the end. But it's like, other than that, Cena just got his butt kicked. Like, this was the match that, it probably should have happened to John Cena in 2012 when, him and Lesnar put on a great Extreme Rules match, but of course, Cena won, which is stupid to have Lesnar lose like that. Like, why? But this match just established Lesnar as, that dominating monster that we all knew who he was. And, of course, this is around the time where he actually gave a crap about he was actually going to kill Cena. This was also the birth of Suplex City, because he had 16 suplexes on him. And that's where it was, Brock Lesnar at the beginning hit the F5, and he pretty much told Cena, say, "Hey, you're asking for this. I'm going to give you an ass whooping. So this is exactly what I'm going to do since you refused to quit when I told you so." Because Brock Lesnar was trying to pretty much make Cena, give up. And when he finally had enough, he hit the F5 on him to get the win and become the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Again, I know we've ranted about how much we don't like Brock Lesnar's Universal title run, but this run was acceptable. We had a good match with Cena Night of Champions, a great match with Cena and Rollins in the triple threat match at Royal Rumble, and of course, again, just even taking out the cash, and I thought him and Reigns put on a pretty good match at WrestleMania 31. So Brock Lesnar wins the championship here, and that's pretty much it for SummerSlam 2014. Again, a good show, a lot of great wrestling matches, but where some of these people went. What was next for some of these people? I know the aftermath wasn't really too great. I mean, the aftermath started to go downhill, though. This is where, the WWE seemed like go really downhill with the product, especially with how bad 2015 was. Don't want to get into that. But I still enjoyed the show. Definitely one of the more underrated SummerSlams, I feel. So I'll give this show a B+ for this episode of SummerSlam, a B+ for SummerSlam 2014. What grade would you give SummerSlam 2014? Your thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure to click my like and subscribe to our channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirborne93. And up next is SummerSlam 2015. We have 2 more SummerSlams left that I'm going to review. Again, I will insert the 2017 live review for SummerSlam at the end of this playlist once I finish the 2016 review. And the 2015 SummerSlam also holds a special place in my heart. But if you forgot, I'll explain why at the beginning of the next video. So until then, guys, this is the Club of the Man 1993. Thank you all again for tuning in for this SummerSlam retro review for 2014 SummerSlam. Have a good night, everybody, and peace out.